Guys, thank you for being here again. So getting right to work on Clemson. As we do so, always reviewing the film, and certainly there's some good effort on the field and there's some good plays, but the obvious is the self-inflicted wounds that hurt us pretty good. But the approach has been very honest and very basic, is making sure that there's zero self-pity, zero blaming, zero negativity, just work, right? Working on the things and finding ways to get better. That's the only way, that's the only direction that we go as it relates to our team and trying to attain progress. So Clemson, obviously an excellent football team, stacked with talent, very well coached, championship caliber program for a while now, and looking forward to this opportunity coming up on Saturday. So that being said, questions.
How do you keep the team moving together? Football, obviously, you always look back a little bit, just to correct. You look at the film, you're very fair, very critical of yourselves, and know that. You look back and correct, but you keep looking forward to it, not ensuring that 2 losses in a row don't become something that you swallow up quickly.
Sure, you do it with leadership at all levels. You do it at the coaching level, you do it with the best leaders on your team, you do it with honesty, you do it with transparency. I think if you ever deviate from that is when you create issues. I think what's very clear to us is, yeah, we've made a lot of progress as a team. You know, offensively and defensively, the improvement statistically is staggering. It's really, really good. But we've made some really good plays in some critical moments, and we've hurt ourselves in some critical moments. And that's, when I say that, I mean at all levels, you know, because we take everything as players and as coaches. And that is very tangible. You know, that's something that you could see on film. That's something that you feel, obviously, when the things are good and when you feel the consequences. So I think whenever it's real, then moving forward is something that is, you know, it's never easy, but the challenge and the approach to it is very real.
How do you attack improving ball security through this stage of the season?
Yeah, you know, it's a question that you feel like you face that question every single year. And you almost feel like you always hear a generic answer, right? You attack that every way you possibly can. You got to see it on film first. How's it showing up? Second part, how do you simulate it in practice, right? How do you get game speed going in practice? Well, you got to practice really hard. How do you get, whether it be the scout team, whether it be the defense, stripping at the ball and knocking it out, given the type of looks that you're going to feel on game day, and then making it a legitimate competition where you got to hang on to the ball to be able to show and display that you can do that in critical situations. And you got to work it to death, and then you got to make sure that on game day that it shows up. So it's an area that, I guess when I say that it's an area of emphasis, it might be the understatement of the year. We've gotten the results early in the year that we wanted. We haven't in the last few, and all focus is on working on it and getting it better.
Your view on when things went sideways in the third quarter, was it primarily because of the turnovers, or what else was the breakdown in your mind?
Well, I think it was part of it, right? I mean, they went down the field and scored. You know, we had a bust, you know, down in our area from a cover standpoint. We compounded the problem with turning the ball right back to them and giving them an opportunity to score again when we were moving the ball very effectively. You know, the last 3 times we touched the ball, 3 of the 4 times we moved it well and scored, including the field goal before the half. And when we got the ball, we were moving well. You know, we had an error, and it gave them the momentum back, and we found ourselves playing catch-up the entire time. That being said, when you watch film, the effort is good. It's good the whole way, you know, and to a point where at the end you have the ball, you're down by 10, but, you know, you fought yourself to a position where if you make a couple of plays, you could be down by 7, you could be down by 3, you give yourself a chance. Either way, it was never turned down. You know, the game was not all right where guys kept working, that's what we look for on film. It's what you look for all the time, especially in a game where you're not doing well. Because if you sense or if you see that, you know, you're not coaching to a high level or trying to find a way to win, if you're not playing as hard as you can to find a way to win, then that's a problem. That's where you got to make a change.
After watching the tape, what stood out about the run defense and that performance? Didn't go the way you guys would have liked it, I'm sure.
Well, I think the tempo got us. You know, got to be honest with that, and you saw that on tape. I think they run the ball really hard. They run it well. They blocked us well. They ran through some of our tackles well. You know, we did not play the caliber of defensive, especially rush defense that we've been capable of showing that we have done. And I'm going to give more credit to them than, I don't want to say anything negative about us. I just don't, throw our guys under the bus. We got to coach it better. We got to do things to help ourselves out schematically when a team gets rolling like that. And certainly things that we have looked at, studied, and going to make improvements.
Was it alignment issues? Was it conditioning issues? A mix of both?
I think alignment-wise, we're in pretty good shape for the majority of it. You're gonna get hit with some things sometimes. You want to eliminate those completely, so that's number one. Number two, conditioning does play a factor, so that's where tempo can hurt you, obviously.
Mario, how would you evaluate the offensive line? I saw that I think Tyler got pressured more than twice as much as any other game on Saturday.
Well, I think when you got to throw the ball that much, you're in like pure drop back mode. That's hard. That's hard at any level, the NFL, college football. So I don't have the totals in front of me of how many times they're worked, but these are obvious drop back situations where the guys can pin their ears back, and so you're going to have some of that, And so it's look, if we have to throw it 50 times because that's it, we got to do it. And I think everybody on the team and everyone on the staff understands that. You're not going to all of a sudden not do that because you want to protect yourself statistically. That's not it. The only chance we had of winning the game was throwing the ball like we did. We had some breakdowns, but we also did a really good job blocking some of their stunts, their pressures. They're good players that they have a high sack total, and for the most part, we did some really good things.
And then this question might kind of flow out of that one, but where do you want to improve in the run game? Obviously, a tough game Saturday, and Clemson's got a top 10 rush defense.
Well, it starts with that, right? The line of scrimmage, first and foremost, finding numbers, angles, leverages that go with that. It's a little bit of everything, right? From the tight ends to the offensive line to what we designed to the running backs, is making sure that we get on track and establishing, not only the run game, but just getting in rhythm offensively. You also have to make sure you're calling plays to give your players a chance. If the box is stacked beyond what the numbers that you can block and the leverages are not there, you may have to throw it around a little bit. But we certainly want to produce at a higher level in the run game.
Mario, you just mentioned conditioning 6 games into a season. How do you correct that? How do you improve on that area?
More players playing, more players capable of playing at a higher level so you can rotate more guys in. We stated early in the season that playing time was going to be earned. It just wasn't going to be a birthright where you go in just because you're the next guy. Well, you got to be able to earn that. If not, we got to move pieces around and put people in there that have earned the right to play. So that's first and foremost. We got to develop more guys. We're not going to use injuries or youth as any kind of excuse. If you're wearing a U on your helmet and on your jersey, we got to get you ready, and that's what the focus is on.
Tyler revealed after the game that he was playing through some stuff in his game this morning. He said he's fine, of course, but I'm trained for everything now. But I know you don't talk about injuries, but since he brought it up, what's the level of concern with
For him playing, 0. Was he banged up in the game? Yeah, he got banged up, But is he tough? Absolutely. He's really tough, and he wants to win. He's ready to roll.
kind of alluded to it earlier. You're down 10. And there's not time for 2 scores yet. There's still buy-in, there's still effort being made on that last drive. You haven't had, it doesn't seem like you've had kids start pouting, start. It seems like there's still a lot of effort, a lot of care, and that leaves reaction from this. Reaction to that. How, it sounds like a more Victor question than it's not, but just how important is that part that you have kids that you can see the level of buy-in that they have? And yeah, they're not getting the result they want, but you see buy-in.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of the progress, probably the biggest part, right? The guys that, when the care factor is high and they've seen that they have made progress in so many areas, and it hurts that much, when things aren't going our way, yeah, that's critically important. You can't have anything without that. And honestly, you can't bring people into the organization that aren't like that. And there was something we had mentioned before. If people are easily broken or fold when things get tough, it's the wrong business to be in. And certainly, as you're, progressing as a program, it's the one thing you really got to stay away from, you got to stay away from weak-mindedness. You got to be resilient, and most importantly, you got to always stick together. I think that unfortunately, you know, these young men are subjected to a lot of noise all over the place, but I can't recall ever as a high school player, as a college player, ever that being a part of any kind of progress, you know. There's a lot of technical stuff going on here today, obviously, right? So it's like, it's never part of the equation. We don't ever let it, it's never part of like our teaching or progression. So it should never infiltrate, you know, our way of doing things.
Say that about.
Give it a sec, David, just wait for that. It's on the side. I'm sorry. Apologies.
I want to ask you about Clemson's running backs, Shipley and Maffa. What stands out about them?
Fast, powerful, right? Guys are bullies, right? They do a great job. They do a great job up front. So do their tight ends. Schematically, they present a lot of eyewash, a lot of challenges, but they're physical football team. Those are a lot of stacked classes of high caliber talent, you know, coming together, and they do a really, really good job. You know, they're a couple plays away from being 6-0, you know, so they present a lot of challenges, and again, we're looking forward to being at our best on Saturday.
I saw Tyler Van Dyke coming in here with his right leg completely wrapped in an ace bandage, and when they heavily, right leg was completely stiff. So he's obviously injured. What's his status, or what's the situation?
Well, Susan, I keep telling you I don't talk about injuries. I just told one of our guys that he's ready to go. So you have to write what you have to write. And next question, please.
Speaking of the running, you mentioned the running game earlier. How much has Mark Fletcher's absence kind of affected how you guys are running the ball? And do you have a timetable when he's coming back from his leg or foot issue?
Yeah, he's about a couple weeks away. I would say minimum. We were hopeful this week. I think you'll see him practicing this week. Doubtful for this week. Feel really good about the following week. Is he critical? Yeah, he's critical to our operation. That's a big physical guy that's fast and gets downhill. Was making a lot of headway, and really he helped change our run game a bunch while he was in there. And he's missed for a lot of reasons. You know, competition-wise, number one, right? That always keeps the room on edge and on its toes. And he's a really good football player. So, but again, you know, with the guys that we have, we're ready to ride with them. I think they've done a lot of good things, and we stick with our people. I think the most important thing a coach can do when he gets in front of a microphone is to make sure that there's no chinks in the operation and, you know, finger pointing and all that other stuff. You know, we got to get better. We've shown that we can do some really good things, and all the focus of the things we do have to be on that. So while guys get hurt and guys are missing time, it's important that we lead with the mindset of we cannot make that an excuse. And when they come back, they're welcome. Can't wait to see them back, and that we go from there.
Jakari Brown and Emery, where are they in their development process?
Doing well. Good football players. They got great futures here. They have to play right now. We feel confident in both.
There was a stat going around this weekend. I didn't look it up myself, so I can't say how accurate it is, but you were one of only 11 Power 5s entering the league that hadn't been changed in your starting line in the offensive line. How important is that when you're trying to get somewhere that you should know those 5? I got to do that.
Yeah, that's been a drastic, area of improvement and the right kind of change, because those guys, I mean, they know each other's next sentence. You know, they work really well together. We put a lot on them. You know, in the second part of this game last week, we had to put a lot more on them than you want to put on any offensive line, but they handle it well. They're tough. You could coach them hard. There's no sensitivity there whatsoever. You can get after them, and they're flourishing. You know, in the system, those guys all have great present, and they have a great future. You know, in college and beyond in the NFL. So.
Mario, there hasn't been a lot of production from the tight end position as a whole. Your thoughts on that, and then how's Elijah? I guess he got in there.
Yeah, we've called their number a couple times, and they weren't targeted due to a pressure or a coverage, or the ball was dictated to go somewhere else. But they are a big part of our offense. It hasn't shown yet. We feel confident it'll show in the coming weeks. Elijah is good to go. You know, he played a little bit. He is set to play more. He's 100% healthy and excited and fired up. And so you'll be seeing a lot more Elijah Arroyo, and he looks as good as what he looked like before his injury.
What does that do to the offense if the tight end production is up? Just what can that help, or how can it help an offense?
Well, it just makes you that much more difficult to stop. You know, there's another area of the field, another position group that you have to be aware of. Certainly, it puts a little more stress on the defense as well. Can create some matchup opportunities for us and some issues for the opponent. So, in the run game, those guys have been extremely effective. You know, both them and then Elijah in his role as well. So, we feel very confident about that group now and going forward. We do, but we got back so late on Saturday. We had to give some of that time for those guys to catch up on rest and catch up on schoolwork, and so it ends up being the same amount of time, you know. So there's not really much of a difference for them. Gives us some extra time for them to be over here and watch more film, some more nutritional opportunities and whatnot. But the rest of the schedule is, once you start the season, the Sunday through Saturday is as is.
Mark, I asked Corey about this after the game on Saturday, but it seems like sometimes some of the DBs maybe are trying to go for a turnover, you know, make a big play, and they miss, you know, coverage a little bit. How do you strike a balance between, obviously, you want turnovers and big plays, but you also want to be playing sound coverage?
Yeah, you talk about the one we try to time up and bat away, or, well, I mean, it is a fine line, right, between having a guy be a ball player. They've been playing football since they've been this big, right? And they can make you right sometimes when you're wrong, on the wrong call, and they could turn a routine play into a great play. We have to focus on being really good at our routine plays. Does that make sense? Because our issues and our follow-ups on routine plays have hurt us. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you look at the ones that end up really hurting us, those are routine, okay? And those are lapses that we have to fix. We have to coach better. We have to teach better. We have to create teaching progressions that correct that. That's what we do. And again, there's no shying away from that. There's no excuses. There's no finger point. There's no blame. There's no get down. That's not the way it's ever going to work here. It's not. You know, it's a very honest and transparent and right at you approach, because that's the best form of respect. Does that make sense? You know, so again, getting really, really good and airtight on everyone just doing their job, all of us. That's the focal. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you.
We have Offensive Coordinator Shannon Dawson. We'll go straight to questions for Coach Dawson.
What changed in terms of defensively from North Carolina, starting to get a lot more pressure in the second half?
I don't know if that's true or not, to be honest with you, but I mean, we got into a situation where we were throwing it a good bit, but I mean, I thought the pressure was about what they bring. You know, they have a tendency to bring some pressure, and so I don't know if that's true or not.
Shannon, the running game had probably its worst game so far this year on Saturday, and things go getting easier with Clemson. I looked it up, they have a top 10 running defense. So what are some of the things you want to not change and at least improve on during this week in the running game?
I mean, I'm not changing anything in the run game, and part of the reason why statistically we were what we were is because we were trying to get back in the game. You know, we did some things that got us out of, you know, a couple touchdowns out, and when that happens, you gotta try to aerate it and get back in, which we did. The bigger deal is we just got to quit turning the ball over in bad times. You know, we were at halftime. You sit there, and I think we had 300 yards, and we had almost 100 yards rushing. You know, very pleased. Then we go out and we turn the ball over quickly twice. Well, you know, now we're down 20, and so you want me to keep running it? Is that what you want me to do? Yeah, well, I went the other way with it. Might have been a mistake, but we'll see.
In Temple, Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina, Restrepo has 47 targets, Kobe Young 22, and George 27. Is that by design?
I think the ball finds you when you're open, and the ball finds you when you're making plays, and the ball finds you when the quarterback's comfortable with you. You know, I think that if you look through the course of offensive football, specifically our offense, different receivers have led the team yearly. You know, sometimes it's been X, not Xavier, but the position X. Sometimes it's been H, sometimes it's been Y, sometimes it's been Z. The plays don't change. Really, the balls just go to people that are open. Like, I'm not sitting here calling a play thinking, okay, I'm calling this play because I want Tyler Van Dyke to throw it to Xavier Restrepo. That never happens. Now, is he the first read on some plays? Yes. Now, it has a lot to do with what the defense does. So if I have a play called and he's the first read and he's open, he gets it. If he's not open, then number 2 gets it, right? And then number 3 and so forth. But, you know, there are people that we want to put in position to get balls, obviously. But ultimately, the ball finds you when you're doing stuff right. And that's really true.
So you set the play, and Tyler makes the decision off of what he sees on it.
Well, he goes to, our plays have a progression. Like, I don't have plays where I call a play and I know what receiver's getting the ball unless it's a screen, you know. In past concepts, we're a progression past offense. So if it's 1, 2, 3, then the quarterback goes through the reads based on how the defense plays, and the open guy gets it, you know.
Is Tyler doing a good enough job to you of checking the ball down when he needs to?
For the most part, yeah, and there's times where he hasn't that's got us in trouble. You know, 2 specifically, you know, the interception in the end zone, the Georgia Tech one, you know, he should have went down, and then the pick backed up, the running back should have got it. That's 2 examples of times he didn't do it, but there's been a lot of times where he has, you know, and so it's hard to be very critical of those things because that's always going to be true. You know, I mean, you're not, a quarterback's never going to play 80 snaps, and 80 snaps you look at and you're like, dadgum, he did the exact right thing on every play. That's just not the case. And so you look at this game and it's no different. I thought Tyler played a great game, like probably the best game of the year, you know, from my perspective, other than A&M. And he had about 3 bad plays, you know, and then those 3 bad plays were costly plays. But other than that, man, he played really hard, and it was a physical game, and he hung in there. And the touchdown throw he threw to George on the wheel route, getting smacked, I mean, that's as lead as I've seen.
Coach, you mentioned how well Tyler played at North Carolina, one of his better performances of the year. What does it take to replicate that against Clemson, which kind of likes to pack the box, but can also be speedy on the outside?
I mean, I don't know about replicating it. I think there's a process of getting comfortable where those games happen, you know. I don't view it as, oh, we're playing so-and-so, we got to, look, it's the next game is the next game, and hopefully we just keep improving to the point to where there's a good product out there when we play. My focus is more on, you know, eliminating the big miss, to be quite honest with you. You know, if you like golf, you a golfer?
I golf a little bit.
All right. When you miss a drive, is it in the woods or is it in the fringe of the fairway?
Fortunately enough, it's just on the rough for me.
Well, then you're probably a pretty good golfer, right? And you can score a decent score if your miss is right off the edge. Well, my miss is in the woods to the right, you know, which is where our offense right now's miss is. You know, when we're playing good football, I mean, we're averaging 500 yards a game. You know, we're doing things that are really, really good most of the time. But when we don't hit it on the sweep spot, we're in the woods or in the water, and it's getting us beat. So we got to eliminate the big miss.
Matt Lee is, I think, right now he's currently rated the top center, I think in the country, if I remember right. Just what does he do that makes him just so effective in that spot on the line?
He's just, I mean, look, that's almost like asking how is somebody good at something. I mean, he's just really good at his job. You know, in the run game, he's extremely physical. He's very, you know, his, I guess, body control of adjusting to like blitzers and things that change quickly is elite. You know, his lateral mobility in those small spaces are unbelievable, but he also like has the ability to generate a lot of power in a very small area. And you couple that with his ability to make calls and to see things and, you know, anticipate what defenses are doing blitz-wise based on front and based on safety rotation. I mean, it's just a unique blend of ability and football IQ, you know. His body's just made in a way where he plays that position really well. I mean, my hunch is if I put him at inside receiver, he wouldn't be great, you know, but he's kind of, you know, built for that position. And so, you know, he's got a unique set of qualities to be really good at that position.
Is that something you have in your bag with Matt Lee lining up in that receiver?
No, I hope not. I mean, trying to be more efficient on offense.
This week, Clemson, top 10 overall, top 5 overall defense, top 10 rushing defense.
Yeah.
What stands out most about that group?
I mean, I think they're the best. I mean, they're the best defense we've played all year from top to bottom. Very, very aggressive up front in the run game. Doesn't mind. They do not mind getting dirty and doing what it takes to stop the run. They're also very athletic in the back end. Their linebacking core, Trotter Jr. is good as we've seen this year. I thought 33 for North Carolina was going to be him, and now I watch this kid and I'm like, well, heck, he's probably the best. His dad was a pretty good player too, if I'm right. But yeah, I mean, top to bottom, and they're very, you know, they've played a lot of football in the back end. You know, everything's pretty much contested with them. You know, passes down the field, or you got to make contested plays.
Coach, Tyler, I know he was hit hard the other day, and might be physically hurting now. Coach Cristobal said he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Is he the type of kid who wants to play no matter what? And, you know, also, I wanted to know how Emery is, just in case.
No, he's fine. Yeah, I mean, both of them are fine. Both of them are ready to go. You know, this game's a physical game. I mean, everybody's sore after games. He's fine. He's good to go. He's ready to practice today, which I'm fired up about.
Well, say that again?
I said he's ready to practice today, which I'm fired up about.
How has Emery progressed? You know, you got him reps at the beginning of the year. Do you seen like him take a step forward since he's gotten that?
I mean, he's progressed, in my opinion, in a way that a true freshman progresses. I mean, you won't know about a kid until he plays significant snaps, right? And so the key with him and JB is just keep coming along, right? Ultimately, there's going to be a competition here for quarterback. At some point, we know we're not going to play the rest of our history with Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback. At some point, he's got to move on. And when he does that, then we're going to have a competition with the other guys that are here.
What does A.J. Allen need to do to earn more carries?
Yeah, I mean, I thought when he got in there Saturday, he did some good things. You know, I mean, there was a couple plays that stood out that probably why he didn't play a lot moving forward, which is, you know, the case with a lot of positions. But consistency is the key. Consistency is the key with every position. I mean, kids ask me, you know, about playing time, you know, and playing time's you know, everybody wants to know, like, you know, if they're not playing. I mean, 11 guys walk out on the field. Not everybody in the room is going to be one of those 11, right? And so what do you have to do to get into that 11 or 16 or so people that are playing? Your position coach and the coordinator has to feel pretty good about you, you know, and that's feel good about every aspect, you know, pass protection, everything, you know, and so, you know, and I'm not down on AJ at all, you know, I mean, I'm not down on him at all, and I want him to play more because his ability to make big plays is there, you know, but he's got to do everything, you know, he's got to do everything.
I don't remember if it was in the spring or in fall camp. I remember you saying, you know, the plan for the season was kind of spread the ball out a lot, among different receivers, get a lot of guys reps, but while Jacoby and Colby and Epps were playing so well, they were getting a lot of the reps of receiver until Saturday. I think Isaiah Horton got the most reps that he's ever gotten. Tyler Harrell got on the field, Ray. Just how much did you? Bashard got a bunch of reps. Like, he got a touchdown. Like, how much do you want to try to integrate those guys more and more into the game plan?
A lot. I mean, that was a planned effort. I thought that, this is a long season, and we're getting into some games where at the beginning of the year we were playing, 60 to 70 snaps, which I'm not like, and I said it before, I'm not mad about that. I mean, I'd rather play 65 snaps and win the game and be efficient, because snaps over time is what wears bodies down, right? So, but we're getting into games where we're playing 85 or so snaps, right? And I felt last week that if we stayed the course with that, then guys like Strep and guys like Kobe, guys like George, at some point in the year, they're going to hit a wall, so we got to share those reps, and we have capable bodies. Like, don't, as a coach, it's a fine line between, wanting your top guys out there and wanting to put guys in and give them experience. And a lot of times you just got to let them go, and they'll make plays, and they're not going to be perfect either. They're going to mess up. But I mean, if we want to be good at the end of the year and we want guys to develop, we got to put them out there and just let them roll.
What did you like about Jacoby's performance? Jacoby.
Dude.
What did you like about his performance in that game?
In this past game? Kobe Young?
Jacoby.
Oh, Jacoby. What was his, I mean, he had 6 or 7 for 126 or something. He had some explosive plays, but I will say this, some of those plays should have been more explosive, and that's who he needs to be. He's got to take a couple of them to the house, and he had that opportunity too. And so he's going to continue getting those opportunities, and part of playing more people has something to do with that, because we're getting situations where we're getting people in front of people that can outrun people that aren't outrunning people. And so to me, that equates to, let's take some reps off of them, so when they get those, they can go score. You can't expect somebody to play 90% of the plays out there and be at his top tier level or even close to it the whole game. And so I'd rather those guys share the reps. But I was very pleased with him, made some dynamic plays and can continue doing that. We just got to, take some of them to the house,
Anything else for Coach Dawson? Awesome.
Appreciate it, guys.
have Defensive Coordinator Lance Guidry, who will go straight to questions for Coach Guidry.
So on the play where you got the flag, talk us through that, what happened there?
Well, earlier in the game, the official came from the offensive side to stop, went over the center and stopped it. Usually that's where it comes from. So we was trying to change personnels. I was trying to get out of nickel and go into base defense, and because they changed personnel. So they're supposed to stand over the ball and give us time. I never saw the official was behind our defense, was on our side of the ball. They didn't come from the other side. So I ran on the field, called him timeout, and then I think I got dinged because I took my headset off. I was angry, so that was on me. I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't see him. I looked back on film, and he was there. So they were right. I was wrong. Apologize.
Lance, that frustration probably came from the struggles when they switched, kind of changed gears on you and started going for that turbo hurry up.
Yeah.
What was going on just in terms of getting the plays in and the players?
We got the plays in. They was going fast, and they was taking an opportunity to run the football. And we were starting to get a little bit tired is what happened. When we started getting tired, we started coming out of gaps. We started missing tackles and things like that, and it led to some big plays. And, yeah, they did a good job of really, after a couple of turnovers, really going fast on us. We held one time after one, and the other one we gave up a big 3rd and 20, you know, on that dagger route, which we'd worked it all week. They did a good job of changing up their formation because their formation, they were inverted, but they were a little tighter. And we worked it all week with them being tighter where it was spread out a little bit more. So it didn't really get the attention of our players. And he came about 20-yard dig route, 14-yard dig route and scored. So it happens. I thought in the first half we did a good job of hitting him, you know. There's a good job by them by going fast so that we couldn't have multiple calls. And we couldn't get to him like we did the first half. But we still hit him pretty good, and he's a good player. He's a good football team, really good wideouts. We knew that going in, and, you know, got to tip your hat to them.
You talked about all season, what you show on film will essentially come back, or, you know, things like that. With that tempo, just how do you prep for that in case other teams see that and want to use it later on in the year?
You do the same. People are going to try to tempo you. Of course, if you stop first and second down and they get off the field in 3 downs and they haven't used up a lot of clock, then you discourage them. So as long as they have a little bit of success, they'll keep doing it to you. You know, at times we did stop them, but we didn't stop them enough. And I think we ran out of numbers a little bit at the end, especially with Najalik going down in the game. And we just got a little thin. So, yeah, we'll work on it this week. We'll work on more tempo periods and go against, you know, our offense. And we do it every week, but we only go 4 plays. We don't do like multiple plays. So we'll have to do that this week with our scouts because we'll get it again.
Lance, obviously, O'Marion Hampton from UNC got you guys pretty good on Saturday, got about 200 yards, and Clemson has some really solid running backs as well. How are you working on improving the run defense this week?
Well, we got tired, and if you looked at it, we busted a couple gaps, and then we just missed tackles. And missed tackles, we knew that it's 220-pound running backs, and once they started tempo on us and we didn't get off the field like we needed to, it kind of took over. And it kind of took over because now arm tackles don't get big backs down. So you got to make sure you fit the gaps. So this week will be the same thing. They'll try to do what, you know, North Carolina did. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for us. So we got to do a good job of changing up some things so that for 2 weeks what they've been working on, they may not see. So.
And then just also about Clemson's offense, just what have you seen on film from Kid Klubnik and their passing game?
Quarterback's good. He's fast. He may be the fastest quarterback we've played. So that catches your attention. The running backs are really good. One of them's a big physical back. The other is coming out of the backfield and doing different things. Receivers are a solid crew. Offensive line is better than they were last year. So another good offense. We'll have to get off to a good start and just play complementary football.
Was that tempo about as fast as you've seen?
No. Going against a lot faster than that. A lot of teams that are in a lot of 10 and empty personnels will go real fast, and they do it all the time. And we kind of knew after first downs that they would do it, and we did. But once they started going, they just kept on. I think when they were around midfield and they did get the ball back on some short fields, they really took advantage of it, you know, and went at us. So they were smart in what they did, and then they got an experienced quarterback, so it fit what they were doing. And you got to tip your hat to them. They did a good job, especially in the third quarter.
When your team plays fast, the way you guys play and exciting up front like that, is it sometimes difficult to drop back in the zone, a challenge to drop back in the zone?
You meaning who?
Your defense, when your defense plays fast and blitz.
Yeah, because play action to get you, so, in man-to-man, it's a lot easier because people go out for passes, you cover them, but in zone, if they give you a lot of it, especially RPO today, so, they'll give you a run look with the offensive linemen, but they're running routes downfield, and you mix that with tempo, and that's very difficult. So your defensive backs have to play it like it's pass because they can't read linemen. Like back when we played, offensive lineman gave you a high hat or he gave you a low hat. If he gave you a low hat, it was a run. If he popped up, it was automatic pass. But today, linemen are going downfield and they're getting the ball out before they're across that, that little area right there, and it's still a playable thing. So it's tougher today, but it's part of it. I mean, these kids are used to going against it, and biggest thing is winning first down like always. We got to make it second and long, and when we did have success, that's what we did.
Is there a common thread when the coverage issues happen, or are they separate issues?
Kind of separate, kind of individually sometime. The first play that they really made was off a scramble with the quarterback, and the guy broke downfield. The big long ball, I thought Tutu was in a good spot. I think he could have made the play. I think he mistimed his jump a little bit. I thought he thought the ball was going to be a little bit shorter. We were in quarters, and they ran a bend with a post, kind of grabbed the feet of Cam, which made him come down and left the post behind him. We knew that was the type of throws they liked. And I thought Tutu was inside of it enough, and, of course, the big wide receiver can run. But he had a chance to make that play. He just kind of misjudged it, So they're good. They were undefeated before we played them. They were undefeated without the big guy, and you add him, it makes it more difficult. But I really thought if we hit the quarterback, we could affect them, and we did early on. Especially, one time he came through and he went and slid, and he don't slide a lot. So I knew that they hit that Cam and hit him, it got him a little bit, and it kind of rattled him. But then in the second half, when they got some short fields and they tempoed, it kind of got back his momentum, and he became the guy he's always been. So, good player.
You kind of touched on it just now, but it seemed like kind of throughout the year, you guys have been getting a lot of pressure, but not actually getting to the quarterback and completing the play and getting a sack. 5 sacks is season high on Saturday. Is there anything you noticed that was different about, just getting home, or just like law averages kind of thing?
We brought more against A&M. I think this guy's a little bit more prototypical, the guy that we played, so he would hang in there a little longer. And we got a little bit more exotic on some third down, the one that came through the pipes. So, I don't know. I mean, I thought against A&M you couldn't bring better pressure than we did. It's just he kept throwing it away and kept running, So athletic quarterbacks can buy time. And if they get out the pocket, they can throw it anywhere they want. It's not grounding. So, no, there's really no rhyme or reason. I do think Bang converted run to pass. We got a sack in the end zone, had a chance right there, and they got the ball and came out of it for 4 yards. So, happens like that.
That wide receiver, Dev Walker, did you guys think he would be that effective in his second game back, or something you had to gauge once the game started?
We thought he was good, like he showed. But, the quarterback's a system guy, so he's not going to look at one guy. What he kind of sees and what you give him, he's going to go through his read. So if he starts to the field and he sees quarters, he knows about where he's going to throw the ball, no matter who's there. And so, like, if you push coverage to one guy, which they was undefeated without him, so it's like, okay, the other guys can play too, and then they were running the football, you kind of in a pinch. You got to kind of play it straight up, We thought on third down we could maybe move the coverage a little bit to him, but on first or second down, there's no way you can stop the run and do all those things and try to bracket a guy. But, yeah, he was good. We made him a little bit better than he was, though, I thought. He ran a dig route, and we expanded out of it. If we were in coverage, we'd have been there. And if Tutu chimes his jump, it might be totally something different. If we'd have kept him in the pocket, maybe a little bit more. So, it is what it is. I'm sure going forward, the more plays he makes, the quarterback may get a little comfortable with getting him the ball a lot, and there might be a little bit more tendencies of going to him on certain plays, certain downs. But we didn't have that opportunity, of course.
Anything else for Coach Guidry?
What's the biggest thing you've learned about Kiko with the sack that he got on Saturday night and, doing on the road in the ACC? It's a different scene from where he was at Washington State, sure.
Yeah, I wish he would have knocked the ball out because he had a chance to sack and strip him right there, I thought Kiko played good. We had a bunch of guys that played well. And then we had some other guys that kind of got a little frustrated, along with the coaches. You know, it's a part of it. And we'll go back to work this week, excited that we got another week to prove ourselves. That's a good thing about football. Every Saturday, you got another chance to kind of redeem yourself. So I'm excited to get started on this week. A win cures everything.
The Cam Kitchen blitz, can you explain the origin of it? Like when you started using it? Like what exactly is it?
The blitz through the middle? We used to call it flash back in the old day, and we'd put it in, and it was a straight out blitz, playing straight man. The other night we ran it, and we dropped the defensive ends and was really playing quarters on the back end of it. But first time I ran it was probably as a player at McNeese. We called it Colonel because we played the Nichols Colonels was the name of it. When I started coaching, we called it flash because it was the free safety. The other night, we called it Tor Heel, and it was either going to be James or Cam, depending if it was 2x2 or 3x1. If it was 3x1, James was going to come down the middle. Well, he was begging Cam on the play, let me go, and Cam said, it's my turn. I swear, they're talking about it on the bus, and I said, James, you know, if you'd have hit him, we might have knocked him out of the game. So I told Cam that. Cam said it was my turn. It was part of the scheme. So I've run it probably once or twice a year. You know, and I'll just pick my times to try to do it. And double A-gap blitzes, we get through there. They had the reason why I thought we could do it is because they're running back. They felt good about him blocking our backers. So I knew the center would slide one way, and I knew the backer would take, their back would take our other back, and they felt like they could block him. So really, we just made another hole for Cam. So when the center slid on one backer, it kind of got on the side of the quarterback, and the backer came, we went outside the blocker, and it created its own hole for Cam to come right through the middle. So the tackles, all they needed to do was retrace in case Cam missed him, and he didn't miss him. So it's a good question.
Last question.
Just James is playing well this first half of the season. Is he growing as a leader too because of that?
Yes and no, I think. You know, the other night he got a little frustrated. But I think he's playing well. He's physical. He showed the other night, I thought, that he could tackle like a linebacker. And that's what I think he is on the next level. I really think he's a linebacker. He's an outside backer and possibly a wheel. But, yeah, he's playing better and better. He's playing with confidence, you know, which is good. And we just need to grade better and kind of stick within the plan a little bit more back there. And just that was probably the biggest thing. We have probably more mental bust than we've had. But when people go fast on you, that's the first thing that goes is kind of your thinking. You know, you start trying to ad-lib and make plays instead of just executing the defense and everybody kind of being on the same page. And it happened a little bit the other night. It happened to me. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.